Good afternoon, class. My name is Glenn Harris, and today I will be presenting on the subject related to medical research. The name of the title of the issue are what are the ethical and separately the legal limitation or restriction on the conflict of interest with the integrity of scientific investigation and the collaboration with pharmaceutical companies for medical research and how those limitations and restrictions determine. This subject is really close to my heart because of the importance of the medical research. The medical research is conducted first and foremost to find new and better treatment, to improve the community health, and to contribute to the advancement of science. Therefore, the reporting of the medical research should be unbiased and should not be controlled whatsoever by any financial tie between scientific investigation and pharmaceutical companies. This subject is really vast, so I did feel like in order to understand, I will have to break into different topics. So I will be discussing the funding of the medical research, the relationship between investigator and pharmaceutical companies, what are the policy, if any, guidelines in place to assist scientific while conducting a medical research, what are the conflict of interest, and what is the ethical obligation or limitation. So let's talk about the funding. The medical research is funded by the government and the private industry. So the government is funding through an agency called the National Institute of Health. So in 1998, the contribution was at 13 billion and increased to 27 billion in 2003, which was an increase by almost 15%. On the other end, we have the contribution from the private industry, which was estimated at 47 billion or 46 billion, which clearly surpassed the funding from the government. That's where the issue is coming from, because of the importance of the funding from the private industry. Scientific investigator, okay, will discover a research. Once the discovery is, once everything is discovered, we have now to develop this discovery into a real product that would be beneficial for us and also for for clinical use. But in order to do that process, in order to develop the discovery, we need the financial resource and the technology of the pharmaceutical companies, where the conflict of interest rises. Because clinical investigator, okay, because of the source of funding, can enhance or reduce the information drawn from the research. The industry influences the medical research because of the considerable amount of funds investing in the research. Okay? So, because of that important issue, okay, the federal, the Food and Drug Administration put in place some regulation to monitor the compensation and the financial interest of scientific investigators while conducting clinical research. Also, we have the Federal Register, okay, that publish and state that applicants should disclose to the FDA any financial arrangement with a clinical investigator and any clinical investigator interest whereby the compensation to the clinical investigator or interest could be affected by the study outcome. We also have other policy in place by the Office of Research and Integrity, ORI, that has the responsibility to supervise public health service research integrity activities. Okay? Also, on top of that, we have the guidelines for ethical relationship, because we realized, I mean, throughout the research, that it was a big concern. The concern are really growing because of the influence of the industry on, the professional judgment of the scientific investigator. Okay, so due to the financial ties, investigators are pressured to get to a specific result that could be a misinterpretation and objectivity. Because of that limitation, we have an ethical guideline. And the ethical guidelines state that the benefit gained by a clinical from the conduct of an industry sponsored clinical trial should be subject to review and approval by an appropriately constituted ethics committee. Also, research grant from industry should be made to the industry, to the institution, and not to the individual, and should be appropriately acknowledged in research and other publications. Finally, any research project conducted by private practitioner should include an investigator with an institutional affiliation and be assessed by an ethics committee associated with the institution. So all to say that we do have policy, we do have guidelines, we do have ethical relationship in place in order to assess and assist scientific investigator when conducting a medical research. Investigator, okay, need to have an ethic obligation, okay, on top of the policy, on top of the guideline. They need to understand that they have to make a decision, and the decision has to be based on what is right. And the ethical theory that, I mean, to me fit my personal view will be the virtue of ethic. The virtue of ethic, because with the concept of learning and making a decision, you use your reason. Okay? So scientific can make the right decision, the best decision, that will be based on the reasoning, because they are making the decision that is not only right for them, but right for the community as a whole. David Dimmet, in an article with the Journal of Business and Ethics, explained, and I quote, ethical conduct is an essential component in research, especially in a medical research. Or to say that scientific investigators should distinguish between right and wrong when conducting a medical research in order to promote the truth about the research and avoid any misinterpretation, falsify, and biased conclusions that are influenced by the financial ties. So this topic is really important because the conclusion drawn from the research is what will help us finding better or new treatment. So to conclude, I will just use one quote in our textbook that states that to be an ethical person, it is important to embrace the virtue of ethical person and to live an ethical life. If scientific investigators are guided by those policies and the ethical, the virtue of ethics, they should be able to get to the truth, to the real findings of the research, and make us trust again the medical research. That was my presentation. Thank you for listening. It was a pleasure. And once again, it's Lynn Harris. Thank you.